Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show, your daily fix of football chat. The talking points tonight. It's the League Cup semi-final draw. It's been made today. We'll take a look at the two semi-finals. We'll also discuss Rangers who've urged the SPFL to take no further action in the EBT row, and we'll look back at all the results from the weekend in all four divisions across Scotland, all in the company of Alan Rough and our boot-room guest Gordon Smith. First of all, let's look at that draw. It was made this afternoon, and as you can see, Ruffy, it is Hibs who'll take on St Johnstone, and it's Ross County against Celtic. What do you make of it?
I think Hibs and St Johnstone will be happy with that draw. Celtic obviously playing well in SPFL, scoring loads of goals. So when you get to a semi-final, you want to miss the big team. There's no doubt about it, and give yourself a chance to get to the final. But I was listening to Jim McIntyre. Although they got beat the other day, there he really fancies his chances.
Yeah, well, I think when you consider that Ross County had chances, weren't as clinical as Celtic yesterday, you can understand his confidence one-off match, Gordon Smith. But of the four teams that are there, three of them actually have good form.
Yeah, they do, and I would say that, you know, probably the reaction to it whenever he's looking at the draw now, just because of the result yesterday, Celtic winning so comfortably in Dingwall, as opposed to the fact that this game will be on a neutral ground as well. Most people are going to fancy Celtic for the final there. Ronnie Dyler will be desperate to get his team through and pick up a trophy. The other semi-final I think is a good one, because we're looking at a scenario there where St Johnstone were comfortable winners over Hibs. I saw that game in over Rangers. The very next night I was at Hibs against Aberdeen, and Aberdeen played really badly, but Hibs played very well to knock them out. Since then they've knocked out Dundee United, so Hibs are on a good run against Premier Division opposition, and this will be a good test, because, you know, St Johnstone will be confident, thinking they're beating Rangers. There's a gulf between them and the Championship, but I think Hibs are on very good form just now. I'm sure they quite fancy themselves of being in the final.
Yeah, and when you consider yesterday's game, Ruffy, as far as the main highlights, it's Griffiths just scoring again. I mean, that's, I think, 18 for the season, 6 goals in the last 5 games. He is the red hot striker in the Premiership, just as much as, you know, Vicorn is in the Championship. Yeah,
I have to agree with you 100%. But I thought the main player, as far as Griffiths was concerned, was James Forrest. I thought James Forrest was back to where he was before he was picking up all these wee niggly injuries. It'd be good if he could stay free of them, but he set up everything for him. But you're right, you know, you're a striker with confidence, and you lay it on for him, he's going to hit the target, and 9 times out of 10 that's what he does, and he's good at it. But as you touched on it as well, Craig Gordon had a couple of good saves. Ross County had a couple of chances at 3-1. You know, if a goal went in, it might have been different, but at the end of the day, it was a good display for him.
And full marks to Celtic, who've come out in the last 24 hours, Gordon, and just basically released a statement saying that the Celtic fans who booed and disrupted the minute silence on Remembrance Sunday embarrassed the club and are not welcome at games in the future. That's the stance. I think, you know, it needed a quick response, and they've made it. Yeah,
I mean, that was good from Celtic's point of view that they've seen that. I mean, nobody wants that among their supporters, to be embarrassed the club as such. I mean, those supporters are very key supporters in respect to the fact they go to all the games, they go to even away game there, but in terms of the behaviour there, Celtic didn't want their fans to embarrass them in that manner, and that's why they're probably going to take action if they find out who these people are, in terms of saying, you know, you're not welcome at the club anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the other clubs that were involved in that semi-final draw this afternoon, St Johnstone are another team in form, Ruffy. I mean, Kane got a really good winner against Kilmarnock, and Halloran, right place at the right time again. He's, you know, week in, week out, we never stop talking about Michael Halloran.
It's a deadly duo, and McLean does a lot of the spade work. You know, he's very, very gifted. Obviously Halloran's got the pace, and they two know that when you've got two players like that up front oozing a confidence, they'll really fancy themselves as well.
I think that Halloran will be the key player that Hibs will be worried about, really, because he has been in good form. I mean, I'd made the point, a lot was spoken about him before, and as soon as I brought it up, he hadn't scored the league goal. He scored 2 since, you know, so obviously that motivated him by the fact that a lot of people thought he was scoring regularly, but his goals, he has been scoring in the League Cup so far. In the last 2 rounds against Rangers, he scored, and he scored the last round as well. So I think that he'll be the danger, because he is certainly in great form, and St Johnstone will be feeling that they can be in another final. I mean, they're not long since having won the Scottish Cup, and this will be a great opportunity for them to be in a cup final too.
Yeah, and if Alan Stubbs has got ambitions to get out of the division he's in, he's also got the prospect, Ruffy, of 1 game to get into a League Cup final. And against St Mirren, they were impressive. They went a goal behind to Kelly from St Mirren, but James Keatings, slowly but surely, he'll be endearing himself more and more to the Hibs fans with a hat-trick.
Yeah. I mean, Alan Stubbs obviously got a remit at the beginning of the season to get promoted. A great cup run for anybody is good. To get to a final just puts the icing on the cake. But you're right, you know, the difference we had last year and this year, that they now have 3 strikers. You know, if one goes off the boil, another one can come in. They didn't have that last year. That's when they struggled in games against Dumbarton and Alloa. But now you've got Keatings in there with a hat-trick. He'll be thinking he's going to start the games as well.
It's a strange factor, though. I mean, there's a lot of consideration Peter has to be put in the respect of the semi-finals are not till the end of January. You know what I mean? It's a long way away, isn't it? And things can change. I mean, we're talking about a form team, form players, but you know, 3 months away, it can all change. You know, and you even get a transfer window in the meantime too. Some players could be sold, bought, or whatever. So it does seem quite strange that, you know, you've got a cup there where you have a semi-final draw 3 months before the actual games are going to be played. Yeah,
well, to be honest with you, Gordon, it doesn't seem quite strange in this country in the way we operate at the moment, because we have a situation where I was looking at the last couple of weeks. We have a manager with a team at the top of the league where people are saying he's under pressure and could be facing the sack in Ronnie Dyler. We have a club at the top of the Championship who have a number of court cases that they're considering, and of course on the back of that, you know, today Rangers and the EBT row that's continuing to hang over them. So, you know, nothing surprises me in the game. You know, we have an international side that haven't made it to a major championships, you know, whether it's league reconstruction or the quality of our players. At times, if you were actually just jetting into this country, you'd wonder if we were all of sane mind.
I know. The thing was, we would also have we'd have playoffs. We were at least looking forward to maybe even having playoffs this week coming. You know, for the obviously the European Championships. That wasn't to be. There's no international matches, and yet we've got a week off for all the clubs this weekend. All the Premier League clubs are on a weekend off. So, I mean, I know what you're saying. There is a lot of things, and I suppose to a certain degree, that's why we do need to try and be positive and say, let's hope the people at the top, and I'm certain they are. There's no doubt about it. They'll be looking closely at the Scottish game and saying, right, what changes we need to make in order to improve things.
Well, with that in mind, there's a statement that's come out from Rangers today with regards to the growing clamour for Rangers to be stripped of titles if indeed the final result on the HMRC case means that Rangers have been involved in tax avoidance with the EBT. And Rangers have said the SPFL board has stated they held a conference call to be given a factual update on the Court of Session EBT ruling, and so it would be remiss of the Rangers board not to state the club's view. The first thing to be said is that Rangers have made it clear it wishes to reach out and work with all the clubs to help revitalise Scottish football, which has also suffered in recent years. There's much to be done, and Rangers want to be part of the way forward. Our game has to become more attractive to potential sponsors and partners if the finance levels required are to be generated, but this can only be done if we present a coherent and united strategy. Therefore, a line must be drawn now if we are all to prosper. It is our irrevocable belief that this club's history, including its many successes, is beyond debate. Rangers cannot countenance or accept any talk, attempts or actions designed to undermine what this club has achieved throughout its long history. So far as this club is concerned, there is no need for further SPFL consideration of court judgments or appeals. They should be saying it's time for everyone to move on and work together for the greater good of the game. Scottish football has suffered enough. We'll probably talk about this after the break as well, Gordon Smith. That's all very well from a Rangers perspective. It means nothing in the broad scheme of things.
No, it is from a Rangers perspective, and it's a strong statement to a degree. And what it seems to me as if you're more or less reading saying, you know, don't take any action against us, don't mess us about, or we'll be considering ourselves separate in this whole Scottish football area, that we will not be helping to the game going forward if action's taken against us. It seems as if it's a certain degree it's in that, isn't it?
I'm not so sure it is. I think at the end of the day, there's, it's very much a case of trying to state their case. There are some points in that with Scottish football, I think, could go down another murky road where financially we could be shooting ourselves in the foot again, depending on what sanctions, if any, are administered. But it's a long way to go before we get to whether the December 2nd David Murray and his group decide to appeal this whole situation. That could be a year down the line again, and then maybe the SPFL will look at whether there should be sanctions or not. We'll discuss after the break this, not in any great detail, because it does have a long way to run.
Hi, I'm Chris Sutton. To win this beautiful signed shirt from me, which club did Celtic sign me from?
Hi, I'm Craig Turnbull, and don't forget you can watch the PLZ Soccer news headlines Monday to Friday by clicking on the link below.
Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. Gordon Smith and Alan Ruffer with me, Peter Martin, on the show tonight. Just prior to the break, we were talking about that statement from Rangers on the ongoing EBT, Roy Ruffy. I think the one thing that we can finish on this discussion, which will obviously rage on days, weeks, depending on what happens in December 2nd, is what I mentioned to Gordon Smith. Regardless of what is happening in the media, what is happening behind the scenes with fans, and I'm not just talking about Celtic fans, I'm talking about supporters across Scotland, is they are, and I think will go down the same route as they did when Rangers went into administration and liquidation. They will drive this forward, making sure that the SPFL follows the letter of the law on this one.
Yeah, well, that's what the SPFL are there for, to administer the rules of the game, and they'll have to look at it. I think if you remember that the SFA and the SPFL come in for heavy criticism with the Craig White scenario, because the Rangers supporters said they didn't do enough due diligence, and they were very, very heavy criticised for doing that. So they really have to be active in what, we're not saying Rangers are going to be found guilty of anything, but they have to be seen to be looking at the rules of the game, and if there's any breach of the rules, then you get punished accordingly.
Yeah, and again, I can understand from Rangers' perspective, and we've had countless players and managers talking about they won't be able to take away the memories, the medals, the cups in their mind. In the broad scheme of things, Gordon, I think what we are going down a road of is a lot of animosity, anger towards certain clubs, and I think in the long term it can only be to the detriment of the game. And I am not in any way admonishing anyone who may well be found guilty. I'm just saying at this moment we are literally shooting ourselves in the foot continually.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, twice, taking the Rangers scenarios, twice there was two judgments went in favour of Rangers and we put aside. Then the third one with the HMRC going a third time for an appeal, and they've won it this time. It can be appealed again, and that can take time. And the next, it can be judged again. More law judges could sit down again and say, go back to the original decision on it. So there's a lot to come there, but there's no doubt about it. There's a lot of fans want something done. I mean, the SPFL already did take action against Rangers on the contract scenario, and Rangers were fined £250,000.
Yes, but that was based on a previous ruling.
That's right.
For £400,000 in total. This has moved it on a stage further, and I think the key issue here is this one has a long way to go. It could take a year before we eventually get to a point where a judgment, if at all, is made. Yeah,
that's it. It depends whether the SPFL can make a judgment on this, as to say whether they can judge that as being something that requires action to be taken in terms of saying taking the trophies away from Rangers.
Yeah.
Rangers have made a statement today and more or less are saying that we don't think that should happen. We want to be involved in helping to generate Scottish football, get Scottish football back to where it should be, and they would obviously, what they're more or less saying is they'd be pretty upset if this continues and any action is taken against them. A lot of supporters don't feel that way from other clubs. They might be pressurising their own club in order to do something about it, and their own clubs, or maybe people who are on the boards of the SPFL, of the SFA. So there's a long way to go. But as you say, we have to wait and see, because it can't happen in the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. What we can do on this programme is look back at some of the other games over the weekend. And again, Robbie Neilson, not that we expected Robbie to be all singing, all dancing at the end of another good win for the Jam Tarts, Ruffy. He's trying to keep a lid on things, and he mentioned that, you know, Hearts' aim was initially top 6, but now it's always to look towards the Aberdeen score because it's second and third, rather than Hearts looking at Celtic. But 6 points, as soon as it was reduced to 3, people are starting to look and think and ask the Hearts manager if he was maybe thinking of challenging Celtic.
And I think the Hearts supporters, knowing them quite well, will believe that as well. You know, they're turning up in their numbers, they're going along there, they're playing good football. But unfortunately for Hearts, you know, Celtic have already put them in their place twice, you know, with no really any hardship there. You know, they won the games quite easy. So I think Hearts would have to really improve a lot, you know, to challenge Celtic.
I think they're doing well. I think that, you know, they will be rivaling Aberdeen. I still do believe Aberdeen will be second and Hearts will be third. I mean, I might be wrong in that respect, but that's how I saw it right from the start. Celtic, Aberdeen, Hearts, and a lot of people didn't think Hearts could be a top 3 side, but I did, and they're doing really well. They're playing some good stuff, consistent in terms of how Robbie Neilson gets his teams organised and all that. So I think they'll be up there, and I think going for a European spot is what Hearts should really be looking for, and I think that's basically the case now.
Yeah, the worrying thing for me is, how many Hearts fans does Ruffy really know, and does he know them by their first names? It's just a thought in my mind at this moment. I'm sure it's single figures. Let's look at the results from the weekend in the Premiership to see how your club fared. Aberdeen getting that good win. Johnny Hayes, star man for the Dons, in a 2-0 win against Dundee United. Dundee 1, Partick Thistle 1. Then it was Hearts with a 2-0 win over Hamilton. It was Motherwell 1, Inverness, Caley Thistle 3, and St Johnstone 2, Kilmarnock 1. It would be remiss of me not to mention, obviously Mark McGee was trying to keep a lid on his anger and frustration at the penalty award, which eventually set Inverness on their way to that win. Although when you see it time and time again, there was only 6 players who managed to encroach when the penalty was taken.
Well, I agree with you. I think you pause it. See, if you pause it, there's players almost as far up alongside the penalty taker.
Yeah,
when he hits the ball.
That's why. Because he saw them. He was actually looking at the goal, but he saw them at the side of his eye.
Yes.
Whereas 9 times out of 10 they'd have been behind.
That is the law. What happens is, see if it's his own players and the player scores, sometimes the referee will give a retake as well. If it's his own teammates that are up alongside him, if he misses and it's the opposition players that are there, he'll give a retake. If it's opposition players are there alongside him, if he'd scored there, there wouldn't have been a retake. Do you know what I mean? That's normally what the case is. The referee goes on the basis of whether the players there have put him off or not. But they were, I don't know why at times a lot of them do that, but I think the referee did the right thing to actually give the retake.
I think encroachment is encroachment whether the player scores or not. If there are players encroaching, the referee's well within his rights, even if the guy scores the penalty, to make him retake it again, and that has happened in the past. Let's look at the table in the Premiership just to see how the lie of the land is. Dundee United not in any way cut off from Partick Thistle or Motherwell or indeed Kilmarnock, but they do have to get themselves in gear after that international break. They're looking at Gavin Gunning, Ruffy possibly coming back to re-sign for them. Now he's a free agent. Yeah,
he was a good player when he was there the first time. They really need to do something. Looking at the table there, you know, Partick Thistle threw another 2 points away at the weekend, and 2 points that could come back and bite them at the end of the year.
When you look at it though, Ruffy, you see Partick there and look at the goal difference. That actually adds a point on in a lot of ways. So it's really they're 4 points behind Dundee United, but I'm sure Mixer Park Line will get them going, but they need to start picking up and getting results and getting points.
Yep, absolutely. And in the Championship, here's how the scores fared for your team. Rangers, I was well impressed with Waghorn. His 2 goals, Ruffy, were top drawer. We didn't learn anything about beating Alloa by 4 goals to 0. I think that was generally expected, but Waghorn continues to impress.
Yeah, you spoke about Lee Griffiths at the start, and Gordon will tell you when you're a striker and you're hitting the net regularly, you just want to keep scoring goals, you know, and the confidence is there for everybody to see, you know, and when you've got somebody like that scoring goals regularly, it makes it very, very easy for you, and I think he could be up I don't know what the records are in the first division, but the championship, I think he could be nearly up 30 goals this year.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be too far away from suggesting Wycorn and Griffiths could get 30 goals this season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're playing in a team that are dominating the leagues and you're up high, top of the league, you're going to get more chances, no doubt about it. You come along, and I think that Griffiths is a player who scored goals even at teams that were struggling, and that's why it's a great boost for a player like that sometimes to go to a top side, because you're going to get more chances, and Griffiths is a good finisher.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, in Scottish football, Ruffy, if they do score 30 goals each, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, we can look at it, have an inquiry, and take 5 or 6 off them.
Oh, no, I'm not going down that road.
That's what usually happens. I'm not going to let this programme finish without I always like to mention the Bairns. Falkirk. Again, maybe we're taking an eye off the ball here, guys, but in that championship, especially in the playoff places, here's the table. Falkirk got a good 2-1 win over Wraith Rovers, and they're in there. They're not, totally detached from it, Gordon.
No, if they keep that form going, Falkirk, what you're looking at there is you've got 2 teams, I think, fighting for the championship now. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Falkirk maybe just slightly out of it. I'm not sure they'll win their games against the other 2, but I think looking at you're seeing there, Wraith Rovers, Queenstown, and Morton are all separated by 2 points. That's the fight for 4th spot. I think the top 3 now that are there will be the top 3 at the end of the season.
I think the good thing for Falkirk and Peter Houston is he's got a reaction for that Rangers game. You'd have thought maybe the heads have went down. I think the players have really dug in and believed that they were quite near Rangers.
Yep, absolutely. Well, it's been an interesting day of news. You can give us your thoughts on it at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy, and go to peterandruffy.com. Give us your thoughts on it all. I'll finish by saying well done to Glasgow City, their 4th domestic treble, 4th consecutive domestic treble. Well done to them for winning the cup yesterday. Good night. Thanks for watching Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like to see more, then why not go on to plzsoccer.com. All our guests from the full series are there, and you can interact with various little competitions that we've got and see some of the other fantastic features in the boot room and Dream Team as well. So click on there, plzsoccer.com, and of course, not only Monday to Friday, Ruffy, we've got much more.
Yes, we certainly have. We have live football right through all the divisions, Scotland and England, 2 to 6.
2 o'clock till 6 on a Saturday. If you want the goals as they hit the back of the net, then click on plzsoccer.com. Thanks for watching.